How's it going, guys? It's the Butcher here, and today I am going to make my tier list video for the upcoming Gauntlet. This is being filmed on the 26th, so this is before the developer live stream. We're going to go back and revisit this, but since I got my build guides up for what I think are my top 4 builds, I wanted to make a tier list video showing you where I think they stand, where I think other builds stand, so you can start kind of focusing as early as possible on getting the gear and aspects and everything, legendaries, ubers, whatever it might be, that you need for the build. So without further ado, we're going to jump into this. These are going to be main builds, so this is just all the skills here. So something like, let's say you're not a build around Bloodhowl, that's not going to be in there. So these are just all the skills. So obviously I'm just going to go by kind of main builds here, and the first one up is Boulder. So this is my most recent video guide. Boulder is very good. It's a top 4 contender. It's a top 4 contender for sure. It could be a contender for best build. The things I don't like about it and why I'm going to put it in A instead of S is it can be a little clunky. It's not the easiest to play, and it can be a little slow compared to some other builds, just movement speed wise, but it does have great clear potential. It's great at bossing. It does everything well. It's super tanky. So it's a solid A tier build and an absolute contender for best build for Druid in the upcoming Gauntlet. So next one up is Stormclaw. I'm going to put Stormclaw, it's a solid B. Stormclaw is good. It's fast. The biggest problem with it is it just doesn't do as much damage compared to other builds, I think, this season. So for me, solid B tier. It's not bad, but there's just better options out there. So Bulwark, D, and I'm not talking about the skill. I'm talking about like a Bulwark build where that's doing all the damage from the explosion like Season 1 where it was ridiculous. They nerfed it to the ground. It's D tier now. So Hurricane's included with Boulder as well too, I should say. So next up, we're going to have Landslide here. So for just pure Landslide, I think it's a C tier build. It's just too slow. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's just slow. While I'm at it, I'll throw this in here as well too for like a poison Landslide build. There's a lot of faster builds. They don't do bad damage. You can beat the content with them, but there's just much better builds for Druid. But Druid is in a very good spot where there are a lot of really good builds, and it's really fun. So next up, going on the list here, we have Lightning Storm. So I'm going to put Lightning Storm in S. I made a guide on this. If you want to go check it out, my version of it, it's super fast. It does tons of damage. Lightning Storm is godlike this season, especially if you're playing it with controller and you can basically get aimbot essentially. I think I'm actually going to post a video on that as well too, how to use it with controller and how much better it even is with controller than it is on mouse and keyboard. But yeah, Lightning Storm is nuts. I think it is absolutely, again, a contender for top build for Druid in the game, and I think it's going to put up some pretty good Gauntlet numbers. So moving on, we have Pulverize. So for me, Pulverize is probably going to be top of B, and I am ordering these kind of in a row. So I guess I should go like this, because Poison Landslide is probably better than just pure Landslide. But Pulverize, it is very good. It does a lot of damage. It's tanky. The problem is it's slow. It's very slow. And all indications for the Gauntlet is you're going to need at least some kind of speed. So that's really what's holding Pulverize back, unfortunately. It is very good still. Both these builds are still very good. Like I said, Druid's in a pretty good spot. You can beat all the content in the game very easily Pulverized. It's a very strong build, but I think there's just going to be better builds for the Gauntlet, unfortunately. Next up, we have Rabies here. This was recently buffed for Season 3. Unfortunately, they made it so you can beat all the content with Rabies. I mean, there's an argument to put it in B tier, but I think I'm going to put it at the top of C. It's just okay, honestly. Nothing too special about it. We're going to drag these two together. So pet builds in general, that's why I'm putting these here. They're in D tier. They're horrible. If you're trying to use pets to do damage, they're absolutely horrible. They need to do something about them and minion necros, because they are useless. The only reason people use pets is for the shepherd's aspect to boost their damage for other stuff. So it's an absolute joke. Honestly, all these are F tier if we're being realistic, but I just don't have an F tier on here. Next up, though, we have Shred. And Shred is an interesting one to me. I'm actually going to put Shred at the top of S tier. This is the build I'm starting out the Gauntlet with as of now. The speed of it is just unmatched to me. We'll have to see, but I really like Shred running it with Petrify and the boots, whatever they're called, Flicker Step, to constantly reset it, and then having the ring to pull him in. I love that build. It's so fast. I can just get fantastic clear times with it. I don't really have any problems bossing because Petrify just makes the boss negligible, essentially. I think Shred is at the top of S. You could disagree. I have two videos on Shred, one in my build and two how to actually play Shred this season, because it seems like as I made that build, there was some people saying that certain struggles and things, but I kind of showed it off and how to play it and how to alleviate some of those struggles. And the other thing about Shred too is I think the build that pairs the best with the Spear of Lycander, which I think could end up with the good RNG being kind of like a cheat code for the Gauntlet. So that is why I have Shred as my #1 Druid build. So next up we have Tornado, and I'm going to put this right behind Boulder and A. It's also a contender. The biggest problem with Tornado is depending on what we have to go back and grab, it kind of takes a while for them to spread out and kill enemies. Not a while, but it's just not instant like, let's say, Shredder Lightning Strike, where they're just, or even Boulder, where they're just evaporating essentially. So that's the one thing about Tornado. It's still really good. It's still really fast, and it's still definitely a contender, but that is the reason why I'm having it at the back of A rather than either at the front or in S tier. And then we have our final build here, and that's actually going to be, we're going to use Trample as Trample Landslide. And Trample Landslide is actually a very solid build. I don't think it pushes into A tier though. I think I'm actually going to put it ahead of Pulverize though. It is faster, it doesn't do as much damage. I think I actually want to do this. I'm going to put it right behind Pulverize and B. So that is going to be my final list. Yeah, none of these, I know you can kind of make some Earth Spike builds or even like Lacerate, but I mean, I don't think they're very good. If I had to do it, I'd go like this, honestly. But yeah, that's going to do it for me and the builds here. So just to kind of recap, I think Shred is my #1, followed very closely by Lightning Storm, and then followed very closely by Boulder and Tornado. I think these four are the true contenders. Down here in the B builds, these are all very solid builds, and you can dominate pretty easily like most of the game with them. However, for the Gauntlet, I think they're just going to get beat out by some of these faster builds up here. Landslide could be or Trample Slide could be an interesting one because you're constantly trampling. And Stormclaw is really fast too. If the enemies are super weak, maybe you can see a World of Stormclaw, or even a Pulverized Druid if you don't have to run around very much. But they just seem like worse options at the moment, although they still are very good builds. C tier builds, you'll be able to beat all the content in the game. However, they're just not great builds. And then D tier right here, Bulwark for damage, pets, Earth Spike, and Lacerate are all D tier because they're just not very good, quite honestly. But overall, looking at Druid, it's in a very solid spot. So I hope you guys did enjoy the tier list video. Like I said, this is being recorded on the 26th. It might go up on the 27th, but we should get some more information after that. And once we kind of see some more things, play around some more things, I'll probably have an updated video. But this is for you guys to get ahead of the curve, start building up your gear and aspects, start watching maybe some videos, start practicing with certain builds that, you know, take my word for it or not, that you think are going to be the best or what I think are going to be the best here. So it's been the Butcher, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.